Going on? It's Amari coming at you on this Thursday night when we are just 2 days away from 317. But I wanted to just hop on and react to some of these fight announcements that have happened in the last couple of days because we've had a couple of really cool fights announced. So I just wanted to quickly react to it. So you have Xingming Yang versus Johnny Walker for the UFC's return to China in Shanghai. Pretty cool. I expect Xingming Yang to walk through Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker was actually supposed to be fighting Azamat Murzakanov and then pulled out, I believe, twice after that fight was supposed to happen. And now I think he has an even tougher opponent in Xingming Yang, who has absolutely TKO'd and finished each of his first three opponents in the UFC. Xingming Yang, an up-and-coming, really good contender, prospect in the light heavyweight division, who we all knew was just going to tear apart Anthony Smith in that first round. Left him in a bloody mess. And now he has Johnny Walker, who's probably one of the goofiest fighters, has some of the goofiest knockouts you'll ever see. So that's the Shanghai's main event. And then for the co-main event, Brian Ortega, a former title challenger, versus Aljamain Sterling, one of the great bantamweight champions that we've had, who has moved to featherweight and I believe is 1-1 in his featherweight run. He beat Calvin Kattar and then lost to Movsar Evloev in a really close fight. And early predictions for this, I'm predicting Aljamain Sterling to bounce back and get the win. But Brian Ortega is pretty good. He's coming off the loss versus Diego Lopes. This is a cool co-main event. Makes a lot of sense for this fight, I guess, for these next two guys in terms of their careers as the co-main event. I would also love to see Song Yadong on this card, considering it's in China, and Zhang Weili, but they're probably not going to put a title fight on a fight night. So there's some good Chinese fighters that they could put on here. And let me just go back here. So then we go to, now we're talking about UFC Paris. Sick fight. For a main event in Paris. This card's probably going to be stacked, honestly, for Paris Fight Night. Nasruddin Imavov taking on Kyle Borralho. This is clearly the number one contender. Eliminator. Whoever wins this will be the next person up against the winner of Hazmat versus Dricus du Plessis, which is taking place on 3/19. I would have loved this fight to be on a pay-per-view as like a co-main event, but still sick main event. Early predictions. This is honestly tough, but I mean, Kyle Borralho, we haven't seen him fight in a while. His last win was coming off Cannonier. Nasruddin Imavov has gone also through Cannonier, Brendan Allen, and most recently Israel Adesanya, which definitely has to be the most impressive win between these two guys' resumes. Nasruddin Imavov with I believe it was the second round finish versus Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya looked really good in that fight, but Nasruddin Imavov, he's been looking really good in terms of his striking, his control with just, he looks like a really good middleweight to be the next guy up for Dricus or Hazmat. And Kyle Borralho, the fighting nerds, they on the up right now. But honestly, my first perception of this fight is, how does Kyle get past? I don't know if Kyle gets past Nasruddin Imavov. Nasruddin Imavov is really good. So we'll see as this fight gets announced later on what's going to be going on with this card with Paris. And then finally, what was supposed to be a pay-per-view that has now been moved to a fight night in San Antonio is UFC Noche between Diego Lopes and Caio Silva. This is a banger fight right here. This is a banger fight, but this could only mean one thing. The UFC is going to proceed with doing the Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. I mean, I was really optimistic they were going to scrap those plans when they moved this Noche event completely off a pay-per-view. But now that you see the matchmaking with featherweight, Ortega's fighting Aljamain Sterling, Diego Lopes is fighting Caio Silva, Aaron Pico's fighting Movsar, probably the biggest, ridiculous fight matchup right now. That means that only leaves Yair Rodriguez to fight Alexander Volkanovski. Apparently, Yair Rodriguez was offered the Diego Lopes fight. So really, I think Yair Rodriguez is a culon for not taking that fight several times when Diego Lopes, that would have been the best main event probably. I mean, this is also, don't get me wrong, a sick main event. This is going to be sick between Caio Silva and Diego Lopes. But it was such a missed opportunity to have Yair Rodriguez not fight Diego Lopes next, and especially is going to be one of the worst fights of all time, one of the most horrible moves that the UFC would do in recent history if they put up Yair Rodriguez to fight Volk in the title after only winning one fight versus Bellator debut, UFC debut, Patricio Pitbull. So that's that, guys. This main event right here kind of sums it up as to where the UFC is going next with the featherweight title fight. And that's really it. That's really my reaction right now to the collection of fights that have been announced in the last couple days. The summer's looking really good. Abu Dhabi's crazy stacked. UFC 318 has actually gotten a little bit better. Apparently Holland and D-Rod is added to this card. And apparently, well, I just went past it. Zell Huber and Michael Johnson has been added, so that could be like a sick prelim. It's spreading out nicely to the point where I'm like not too like mad about it. And then of course 317 is right around the corner. The press conference is just minutes away from the time that I'm recording this video. So that's my reaction to the latest fight announcements. And yeah, I'll see you guys after UFC 317.